Welcome to The Interest. I'm Christine Stuart. Happy Monday. We have Bill Bodnar in the studio for Master the Markets, and later our own Andrew Berman and Vince Valvo will duke it out in cage match. But first, people are desperate for home financing in the region known as Appalachia, but financial institutions and opportunities are few and far between.
What's happening is, back to the disinvestment, banks are moving out, not moving in.
Between the late 19th and 20th century, coal mining and natural resource extraction were in full force in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia, fueling these states' economies and this country's development. Now stricken by poverty and isolation, these areas are desperate for home lenders who have resources to connect qualified home buyers with affordable loans.
That does sometimes mean that we're the only lender or one of the few lenders who are really penetrating markets that don't see a quality 30-year fixed rate product. And yet there are buyers there who will qualify.
Loan officers who work in Appalachia not only help potential borrowers build credit, they also teach financial literacy to communities plagued by predatory lenders. The housing stock in these parts is old, but the people are proud and working towards the American dream.
We're creating a pipeline of future qualified homeowners to help everybody. I mean, it feeds itself, right? And this is the starting point, and it has to be somewhere.
To learn more about originating loans in this underserved region, visit nationalmortgageprofessional.com. For The Interest, I'm Christine Stuart.
We all dream of owning a home, but for too long, if you didn't fit the mold, you were stuck. Stuck because the system worked for everyone except you. We've changed that. Angel AI uses advanced AI technology to give a 100% trusted solution and fast answers for worry-free financing, allowing you to achieve fair and equal access to lending. Angel AI. AI you can bank on.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to our Master the Market segment. So last week was Jobs Week, and once again it was a mixed picture. We had a headline number coming in well above expectations, but when you dug into the details, we watched more backward revisions, which moved 167,000 jobs. But on the other side, in the household survey, we showed the unemployment rate tick up, and it actually showed more people unemployed and less people employed. So you had this very mixed picture, and it all led with the bond market kind of finishing the week near the best levels in a while, which was good, a 10-year note at 408 or so. But now we get to this important inflation reading this week, CPI. And CPI, candidly, has been running high on a month-over-month basis, like 0.3, 0.4. If that number comes in high, it could hurt the bond market. If not, we might be looking at a Fed rate cut in June. I hope this finds you well. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Okay, Vince, we got a sensitive subject I want to bring up today.
Oh boy,
gender pay gap.
Oh,
gender pay gap. We just shared an article within the office, talked about. I believe it's based on the average white male. Women get paid 77 cents of the dollar that an average white male makes. So, what are your feelings about this?
I think it's actually a complicated topic. I think women have been making gains, but I certainly see where there's issues that women don't make as much as a man usually does. I worry sometimes, though, that it's what we're talking about here. It's a little too complicated because some of those studies, it's not strictly like, here's somebody in this job and here's a woman in exactly the same job. Is there a pay gap? It's talking generalities. And sometimes it doesn't factor in that an awful lot of women are working part-time. They take time off from work for maternal care, for maternity care, and that affects their overall earnings compared to men who, don't often tend to do that. I always worry when we see these kinds of things, are we really factoring this in? We've got a lot of very accomplished women in the world, and especially in the mortgage industry. And it always seems to me that if you've got somebody who's really accomplished and you got another person who's really accomplished, if the woman is as accomplished as the man and you could get the woman for 75 cents on the dollar, why wouldn't we staff up with only women? So I think that there's a fallacy in there somewhere.
That's why we have mostly women at AmBiz.
No, that's not good. We do have a lot of very accomplished women, but I don't disagree that women as a demographic are underpaid compared to men. But I know that you've got an interesting idea along why this is the case.
Yep, and there's a couple of things. First off, I do think actually most of those studies don't actually focus on titles. They take all jobs, all pay. Right. But let's focus specifically about my personal experience. I win a lot of these. Let's make this a little bit about me. So I've had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of successful leaders in the mortgage business. One of the things that I've noticed about women is women, generally speaking, women at the top in the C-suite are more likely to share the credit with their team and their other people on their team. Whereas men, we take credit for everything. Right. And this I think actually causes a potential.
This is what you're calling it. This is the good human being penalty. I was a good human being and a good boss, and I made sure that my team was acknowledged. And because of that, I don't get, as a woman, all the credit that I should, and so I also don't get the rewards.
And the irony of that is that it's what makes women great leaders, and that's why we actually need more women in actually the leadership of the mortgage business and of we could extend beyond that, corporate America, politics. There's a lot of discussions that we could have about that.
I agree that I think it's good to have a lot of women in the leadership roles. I think your leadership roles in general ought to be diversified. I really do. I know there's a lot of people who don't want to hear about diversity and equity and inclusion stuff, but I think that diversity of opinion, diversity of experience, diversity of gender, diversity, in general, makes you a more well-rounded company. If the only thing you're doing is selling something to coal miners, frankly, having a bunch of coal miners on your board is probably a good idea. But if you're going to sell to a much broader, demographic, everyone in the country, you need to have better viewpoints. And listen, we have some of the best leaders in our company, I know, are the women who work here. Yeah. They're much better than you are. And with that, I think we're going to agree on most of this stuff. I will just add that I do wonder, again, at some of these studies, I know that women, I'm not sure that the gap is truly as much as it sometimes seems like it is, but I do know that we don't treat women in corporate America as well as we treat men. We do need to change that.
Well, and we are changing. And one of the things that I will say that's great about this industry is there have been a lot of groups that have come together to support women, to make sure that they understand actually that there's training, that there's opportunities out there.
Hey, our own Mortgage Women magazine, we just launched a whole leadership council that we're looking for here, and a leadership group to support women in the industry and to bring people together. So we'll see how well that goes along. I'll admit, listen, sometimes we reach out to folks and we say, hey, you ought to be participating in these Mortgage Women initiatives. And they go, but I think that we've got to keep at it and they've got to keep at it because this isn't a critical demographic for the future of the industry. Agreed. This is the best part of the workforce.
100%.
So, yeah. All right. My victory. Thank you.
For more on these and all of today's top stories, go to nationalmortgageprofessional.com.